Now we've cleared security, and Manchester Airport are employing a new tactic to speed up the checks by employing the rudest people on earth. So now I'm sat waiting for breakfast, and because this is an airport, it's not hot and it's not cold, so I'm sat here with my hoodie over my shoulders like a Frenchman. It's the 13th of November and we're back in Torremolinos. I suppose it'll do. Yes, we're back in the Costa del Sol, and some of you may be wondering, why are we back in a place that we only visited last year? Well, to be blunt, it's so fucking cheap, it'd be rude not to. For our week in Spain, we paid less than half what a colleague of mine paid for a week in a static caravan in North Wales. The flight here was pleasant enough, save for one thing. I sat in the window seat, Mrs. Disgruntled sat in the middle seat, and in the aisle seat was an elderly lady who upon arrival said, "I didn't think I was going to make the flight, they didn't send me assistance," as if either of us gave a merry fuck about her day. Then, in the course of a 3-hour flight, she told us her entire medical history, went to the toilet 5 times and bothered the cabin crew another 4. She left her seat 9 times in a 3-hour flight. Let me put it this way, Mrs. Disgruntled asked her when she was going home to confirm she won't be on the same flight as us next Sunday. So, although it's mid-November, it's 27 degrees and the sea's still warm enough for me to walk in the surf. When we were here last year, there were still heavy COVID restrictions and the place was deserted. This year, it's business as usual. And the bad thing about that, I'll just let the gentleman go past. The bad thing about that is it means the Germans are back with their music and strange attitude to sun loungers. But the good news is the Germans are back, because the average German woman who is moderately attractive thinks that suitable beach attire is to be completely topless, and provided she's got a 1/2-inch wide piece of fabric from her clitoris to her arsehole, thinks she isn't breaking any decency laws. Long may it continue. When I was here last year, the wind was so bad I had to add subtitles. Whereas today, this is pretty much perfect. And if anyone watching this back in the UK is thinking, do I feel smug? Yes, I fucking do. Obviously, with us having such a cheap deal on our holiday, our hotel won't be anywhere near the beach. Oh no, there it is. There's a reason I wear mirrored sunglasses, and there go two of them. Around an hour ago, I went for my first swim in the hotel's rooftop pool. And I wouldn't say the water was cold, because there isn't a word to describe. The freezing sensation I felt whilst remarkably remaining alive. And I was making my way down the steps, and gentlemen, you'll know this. When you're on the steps and you know the next one is going to immerse your gentleman vegetables in freezing cold water. Anyway, as I was standing there, a Dutch couple I'd been chatting to earlier said, "Go on, you've got to go for it now." To which I said, "No, I think I'll give it a miss." But then another man walked past and he said, "That's as far as I got. Any further, you're a braver man than me." The problem is, that man was Scottish. So as an Englishman, I'm duty bound to prove that I'm braver than him, to justify all the reasons we've invaded their country. If anyone comes to Torremolinos and stays in my hotel, or rather the hotel I'm staying in, have a look in the pool, see if you can find my bollocks. It's the beginning of day 2. We've just been for breakfast, and this is the first hotel I've ever stayed at, serving complimentary alcohol at 8 in the morning. So have your breakfast and get on the lash at the same time. That being said, breakfast was excellent, and the waitress, an attractive young Spanish woman, to say her top is a couple of sizes too small, well, there's less tension on the border between Finland and Russia than there is on the buttons on her blouse. There's an old saying that goes, "Only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun." Now clearly, I'm not of the canine variety, but despite my ridiculous Scandinavian surname, I am the former. I am English. And even though it's autumn here, it's the time of day when many businesses close for lunch, for a siesta. And not for like half an hour, I mean 3 or 4 hours, whatever they feel like. And bear in mind that the Spanish work ethic, it makes the Italians look uptight, overworked and stressed. A man's just gone past on a push bike, wearing nothing but a pair of denim hot pants, waving and smiling at people whilst the speaker plays Eurobop music. I don't wish to use lazy stereotypes, but I'm approaching the gay beach. Something else that's changed since last year is now there are many places on the beach offering massages. Although the pictures of said massages look like the final moves in Mortal Kombat. But I've just seen a young Thai lady come past me on an e-scooter, and they may want to rethink their branding, because written across her skirt over her crotch is the word massage. If I do that, I'll go to prison. One of the many African gentlemen who I assume have arrived in mainland Europe without feeling the need to use passports or fill in any forms, who now eke out a living selling counterfeit crap on the seafront, has approached me, firstly addressing me in French, which being a Brit has fucking annoyed me to begin with, and then said, hey boss, and I don't like it when black people say boss to me because there's certain racial and historical connotations. But he's gone, hey boss, do you want to buy some sunglasses? What the fuck are these? So behind me is a British bar. I absolutely fucking despise these places when you go on holiday. The only good thing is it keeps all the dickheads in one place. Tom Waits once said, a true gentleman is a man who can play an accordion but doesn't. So, something that has changed is I went to the gay beach and it's still there, but it's really toned down. In a way, I think that's sad. It's like a step backwards. Nonetheless, there were two very attractive young Spanish ladies, clearly very much in love, and I thought that's beautiful. Doing yoga intimately in pieces of string, which legally I guess are bikinis. And I thought, that's pretty, that's nice to see, I'll watch for just a few moments. Admittedly, I had my sunglasses on, so I looked like I was looking that way, and I was like that. I then checked my phone and realised the 2 minutes I spent watching these young ladies was actually just over half an hour. Mrs. Disgruntled, how do you feel about going up the steps of the old town?
Terrifying.
Okay. I swear, they've added more steps from when I was here last year. Also, I've abandoned the missus. I'll meet her at the top. However, it is worth it for the view. Here we have a statue of Zeus assuming the form of a bull to seduce Princess Europa. That gives a new meaning to the word. She's very fuckable. Fuckable. When we were here last year, the first 2 days we had glorious sunshine, then on day 3 it clouded over, the winds picked up, and then the whole resort was hit by a massive tropical storm. We've had 2 days of glorious sunshine, now on day 3 it's clouded over and the winds have picked up. I'm getting a horrible sense of deja vu. I've now left Torremolinos and I'm in Benalmádena. Apologies to any Spaniards watching. The reason being that on Friday, Mrs. Disgruntled and I are going out dolphin watching, and the boat leaves from here. And the wife said to me, why don't you go do a dummy run? Which is her way of saying, I'm tired, I want 2 hours in bed, fuck off out. I'm now at the marina, and something I know is wherever you find boats, and by boats I mean leisure craft, not fishing boats, where you find boats, you find rich people. Fuck, there's some money around here. Apologies for the wind noise. The vessel behind me is somewhat confusing for those of us who've sailed. It's a mock-up of a Chinese junk, displaying that it was made in the year 1999. It's also flying the Spanish flag and the Jolly Roger. And flying the piracy flag, you can still be hung for that. Slightly confusing statues here. This chap is trying to cover his chest. This lass isn't. I'm heading back to Torremolinos. I've left the marina, but something I found unusual is that many of the larger yachts, or at least the larger yachts for that marina, those which would cost between £1 and £2 million, they don't have traditional tenders or small boats anymore, which would allow the yacht to sit at anchor and those on board to get into very shallow waters. Instead, they're using jet skis. And what I find odd is I've never seen someone on a jet ski and thought, I bet that person is extremely intellectual, because in order to afford a yacht costing £2 million, one would expect the owner to be clever and successful. To me, jet skis are very much the quad bikes of the ocean. Tomorrow, we're going off on an all-day excursion, and we'll need our passports because we're going to another country, Gibraltar. Because Gibraltar isn't part of Spain, it belongs to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And this has been a point of tension for many years between people from my country and those who live here in España. The Spanish argue the Brits should give it back, but when it comes to colonising, they're not really in a good position to take the moral high ground. They're in a better position than the British, but it's still not great.
On ne le voit pas, tous les trajectoires sont ensemble parce qu'ils se disputent le terrain. C'est pour rentrer seulement entre 5 heures et après pour rentrer de retour là-bas.
So that was a fun 3 hours on a coach. However, we're about to re-enter Great Britain. Back in Britain. Back in Britain. I'm on the main high street in Gibraltar, and it's surreal because clearly the architecture is all Spanish, but it's the most British place I've ever been. It's like everything here is designed to say, this is Gibraltar, we're part of Great Britain, fuck you Spain. Here in Gibraltar, all the locals are fluent in Spanish and they're fluent in English. But they also have their own unique language which combines the two, and I'm not making this up, it's called Spanglish. English fish and chips, none of that foreign muck. I've just used the toilets here at the bus station. They are run down, filthy, disgusting. They look like they haven't been cleaned since the early 1970s. So it really is like being back in mainland UK.
It's a small channel. We have a bigger one. We go to see the show in St. Michael's Gate, but nobody understands what the show is. I'll explain you what. One in two directions for the 10-ton truck. It's limestone. Limestone is. I'm from Texas and archaeology.
But Michael's Cave was stunning, and now I'm outside in the wind, the mist, the rain, and the load of wild animals fighting. Truly, it's like being back in mainland Britain. We're now leaving Gibraltar, time to head back to Spain. I confess, today has been a somewhat strange day. Because I'm British, actually I prefer to say I'm English, but saying you're English now is considered problematic. There's an old joke that goes, I'm a proud Scotsman, said the Scotsman. I'm a proud Welshman, said the Welshman. I'm a proud Northern Irishman, said the Northern Irishman. And I'm a proud Englishman, said the racist. And although I consider myself somewhat patriotic, I've never seen anything like the people of Gibraltar. They are so proud to be British, and they are British as I am. But the strange thing is, for me to visit that part of Great Britain, I'd have to leave my house and drive to Manchester Airport, which is around 45 minutes, get on a 3-hour flight to Malaga Airport, go through customs, then get on a bus, which from Malaga I would guess would be 3.5 to 4 hours, to get to another customs point, to get my passport stamped, to go back to Great Britain. Gibraltar, I fucking loved it. I confess I'm confused. What does the emergency stop do on a swimming pool? So this morning I was making my way along the beach, paddling in the surf, casually observing the attractive young Spanish ladies who'd forgotten their bikini tops. And I said earlier that there are places on the beach now that offer massages. I just had a young Thai woman approach me and tell me that if I go for a massage with her now, she'd give me a free happy ending. I've been on this earth for 44 years. That's the first time a stranger has approached me and offered to wank me off on the beach. Mrs. Disgruntled, on the day we got here, what did I buy you?
A Gucci handbag.
And what have I just bought you now?
A Gucci purse.
I've had some flip-flops. They cost €8. As you've seen, last night I went to watch some flamenco dances. Something I thoroughly enjoyed. I think the art form is fascinating. But it also confirmed the thing which I despise the most about Spain. Drunken British tourists in fucking football shirts. That may seem a little over-specific, but I promise you, if you're in the Costa del Sol and you encounter a British man with a pint of beer wearing a football shirt, he will be a 100% dyed-in-the-wool card-carrying knobhead. Anyway, this evening I was in the restaurant and I was approached by a man who I'd seen the previous evening. He was also at the flamenco show and he'd been pissed out of his skull, and in his words, he was being funny by getting up and dancing. Now, I didn't see it as funny, and I don't think the dancers did either, because in his words, he was trying to kiss them for a laugh. Because famously, attractive foreign women like nothing more than pissheads in their late 50s trying to sexually assault them whilst they're at work. In contrast, what I did was I waited for the performance to end. I then approached the flamenco dancers asking if any of them spoke English. Now, only one of them did. This young lady, Teresa, a 24-year-old ballerina and flamenco dancer, and through my broken Spanish and her much better broken English, we struck up a conversation, talking about music theory and the way that flamenco and heavy metal, those theories align together. I do admit, however, when I was talking to her, I forgot that I'm here with the wife and that I'm 20 years older than her, and was entertaining the fantasy that I'd ask her to come away with me, to leave this exotic life of dancing next to the Mediterranean and instead live with me in a 2-bedroom ex-council house in Stoke-on-fucking-Trent. As a musician, I appreciate anyone who gets up on stage to perform. But I've got my fucking limits. That was Tony Angelino from Only Fools and Horses. We were due to go out dolphin watching today on a boat, but sadly it transpires Spanish boats don't work when it's raining. Bollocks. It's just gone 11 in the morning, and this is somewhat bizarre. There's been a bit of rain, and now Torremolinos is all but deserted. It's like a fucking ghost town, and the few people I've seen out walking, it's like being in God's waiting room. These are old age pensioners, people who are so old, I'm guessing they're going on their morning walk because they're fully aware it could be the last one they ever get. I'm just having a quick wander around this hotel because this is where I stayed last year. When I was here last year, I was standing in the middle of a tropical storm, getting shot blasted by the sand, talking about this sculpture on this roundabout, representing a painting by Pablo Picasso. A year on, it's still shit. At the end of the video I made last year in Spain, I said that this statue was the closest thing I got to seeing an attractive young woman with her top off. This year, things are different. And that brings me on to another point. A point which I'll have to walk 2 miles to make. I'm at the gay beach, and as you can see, it's deserted. No lesbian yoga today. Fucking weather. Now we get to the point I alluded to back when I was in Eastern Torremolinos about 25 minutes ago. This bronze sculpture behind me is based on the first photograph taken of a woman sunbathing topless anywhere in Europe. And it happened here in Torremolinos in 1894. Now, firstly, I'm a huge advocate of women's rights and equality, and secondly, you may have gathered, I like looking at young ladies wearing very little clothing. So on behalf of all straight men, this is what a true heroine looks like.
I feel like a woman. Moves and happens. You can tell your dog to one on it. I'll tell you, brother.
It's Saturday morning, the beginning of my last full day here in the Costa del Sol. We fly back early tomorrow morning. And last year I made the comparison between Italy and Spain. I realise now that was a mistake. I was very harsh on Spain. Italy and Spain, two totally different cultures. It would be like comparing England to Scotland, because as an Englishman I consider myself to be intelligent, sophisticated and articulate, albeit parts of England are very, very ugly, whereas Scotland is a beautiful country, but for the most part, the locals are untamed barbarians. Over the last week, the wife and I have stayed here in Torremolinos, but we've also visited Benalmádena, which I'm still not pronouncing correctly, Marbella, and of course the British territory of Gibraltar. And if I'm being harsh, Spain, it's a bit dated, it's a bit run down. It's like it's yearning back to the heydays of the package holidays from the 1970s. But that's okay, because the world is still recovering from COVID, and this area of Spain, the Costa del Sol, which is entirely reliant on tourism, it took a proper fucking battering. But this is a beautiful part of the world. The locals are polite and helpful, the women are off the scale hot, and the staff at the hotel where we're staying are second to none. And I'll say again, the only thing that ruins Spain are the fucking British. Not all Brits, I don't class myself in that category. But these overweight drunken morons who come to this country and think it's acceptable to be pissed out of their skull at 2 in the afternoon and treat Spain as their own personal fucking playground. Fuck that. It's now Saturday afternoon. I've been for one last walk along the beach and I'm now heading back to the hotel to get some dinner, and then we fly back to the UK first thing tomorrow morning. So how do I sum up this week in Torremolinos? Well, the thing about booking a winter holiday in the Costa del Sol is the exceptional value for money. Like I said at the start of this video, I know a guy who paid twice as much for a week self-catering in a caravan in Wales. So would I rather be next to the Mediterranean in this beautiful country with its art, history and culture, or pay twice as much for a week living like a refugee in the land of the Druids? It really is a fucking no-brainer. If you made it this far, as ever, thanks for watching.